Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, thank you to everybody for taking some time to learn more about Jira with me today. My name is Will Howard McKinney, and I have been at Atlassian for just shy of 6 years now, and I'm on a team here at Atlassian called the Product Advocates. And we are a team that specializes in helping folks understand how our products and services can best suit the specific needs of your use case, of your team, and of your organization. So you can think of us a little bit like pre-sales engineers, but mainly you can think of us as a helpful entry point into how your team can run better on Atlassian. We know our products inside and out, and we know a lot about how they're used in several different ways by many different types of teams. So in other words, our job consists of helping folks determine which Atlassian products are right for them, and helping understand how they work together to realize even deeper benefits to the way that your team collaborates and delivers work. And we're fortunate to have some more of those product advocates, those PAs with me on the line today, who will be answering your questions throughout the session. So let me get into a few logistics real quick before we get to the main event. Next to the webinar console, you should see a Q&A widget. And if you have any questions at any time throughout the presentation today, please drop them in there. We will do our best to answer all of your questions during the time that we are together today, but if for some reason we can't get to all of them, we will still be following up with you afterwards to get you those answers. And even if we do get to your question, we are still going to shoot you an email in the coming days that contains a record of your questions and of our answers. And feel free to reply to that email to get back in touch with us if you need anything further, so we can continue to help as you navigate your evaluation of Jira Software. Also, take a look at the resources we have linked for you that are surrounding the interface, and maybe bookmark them real quick. These are some common resources that the product advocates have curated for you as helpful documents to get folks familiar with Jira Software. You should also receive a recording of today's session in the next few days. Feel free to revisit it or share it with any of your coworkers or stakeholders who might be interested. Now, occasionally we do hear folks report the slides are a little out of sync or some other minor technical imperfections, but these are nearly all resolved by simply leaving and returning through the same link that you used to get here. So it doesn't happen often, but if you experience any irregularities with the interface, just leave and come back, and that should resolve it. Just wanted to mention that just in case. And lastly, remember that there is not a dial-in number. The broadcast is streaming through your browser, so make sure your speakers or your headphones are turned up so you can hear the content today. Now, having said all of that, let's get into it. Here is a peek at what we are going to be covering today. First, we're going to do an overview of a few key topics, like some basics about licensing and pricing, trust and security with the Atlassian Cloud, and a few other topics to kick us off. And then next, we will get right into Jira Software, and this is where we'll spend the majority of our time today, focused on Jira Software and how you can use it to get new projects up and running smoothly and get your teams delivering work faster and more collaboratively. Now, this session today is primarily focused on Jira Software, and all by itself, without any additional integrations or any other bells and whistles, it is already a very flexible, very, very powerful tool where you can plan, assign, track, and manage your work. But Atlassian really has built almost an ecosystem for work with a host of solutions that are built with deep integrations that have teamwork in mind. So we will spend some time near the end exploring some other Atlassian products and how they connect with Jira Software, specifically focused on Jira Software and Confluence to help you manage your ideation, your planning, and your documentation, and Jira Software and Bitbucket, which is our Git solution, and how using these other Atlassian-built solutions in tandem with Jira can elevate your productivity in some really interesting ways. And finally, we will take some questions at the end, time permitting, but quick reminder that our product advocates are on the line waiting to answer any questions you have, so please avail yourself of their expertise at any time throughout the session. So here in our overview section, we have a few broad topics to go over before we dive into Jira Software. Some high-level info that'll be helpful to connect Jira Software to the day-to-day work your teams are doing, as well as some success stories and some info about pricing and deployment options. So let me start by highlighting a few customer success stories and maybe pat ourselves on the back a little bit. These are just a small handful of the organizations who build better with Atlassian. Now you'll see some heavy hitters here, some familiar names, and we are incredibly proud to support these teams and improve their processes. But I also want to call out that our products are for all teams, regardless of size. So companies of 5 to 5,000, or even just a team of 1, someone starting to work on an idea that they're passionate about, getting set up with solid tools and reliable processes early on sets you up for ongoing success. So while these are some major companies highlighted here, we are a company that takes pride in giving teams the tools they need to thrive regardless of size and regardless of scope. Now, Jira Software, this, of course, is what we are here to learn about today. And this is the main focus of our session. But Jira, just to define some terms, Jira is more than Jira Software. Jira is a family of products. I referenced it as an ecosystem before. There are a few different quote-unquote flavors of Jira that you can unlock depending on the needs of your teams. So we have Jira Software, of course, and in addition to that, we also have Jira Work Management, and we have Jira Service Management. Jira Work Management is effectively Jira Software, but designed for business teams, teams that aren't maybe running on Agile or Kanban methodologies, teams that might not be working from a board. I think teams like HR or marketing might be good use cases for Jira Work Management. And we have Jira Service Management, where service teams, IT operations teams, and development teams collaborate at high velocity so they can respond to business changes and incidents and deliver great customer and employee service experiences quickly. Now, all three of these flavors of Jira, they can be used on their own to great effect. But if you unlock other flavors of Jira within your instance, that is when the real magic starts to happen. You can license folks in the specific version of Jira where they need to be to do their work, and they can leverage the integration benefits and communicate freely with one another without having to license them in any of those other versions of Jira. So simply put, this lets you control your costs. Now, these products are licensed differently, so if you have a marketing team in Jira Work Management, a software development team in Jira Software, and an operations team in Jira Service Management, they can all live and work in the same interface, they can do their work in the same interface, and they can communicate freely with each other inside the platform without having to license folks in those other versions of Jira where they don't need to be in order to do their work. So a little bit about security. Security is critical when you decide to partner with an organization like Atlassian to house your data. And we are certified in many industry standard certifications, some of which are listed here. And if you have any questions about our certifications and accreditations, please visit us at atlassian.com/trust, and you can learn more about those. All right, so let's move on to the various different plans that we have for Jira. These are the plans for our cloud offering, which is what we are going to be looking at in the session today. And we will get into each of these, but I do want to at least mention our on-premise version as well, which is what we call our data center offering. Now, by and large, most of you are going to want to deploy in the cloud. It's quick, it's easy, you're up in a matter of minutes, you don't have any hardware, any infrastructure to maintain, you get updates automatically as they're released. It is the optimal deployment for the vast majority of our users. But if you do work in an industry that has specific regulatory concerns, I'm thinking of industries like healthcare or government maybe, you might need to work on our data center plan. So it's for a very kind of small niche percentage of our customers, but we do have it, and if you have any questions about it, you can talk to the PAs, but just know that the cloud offering is what we're going to recommend in almost every circumstance. Taking a look at these cloud options, though, we have 3 plans to choose from. So let's start with the standard plan. This is our most popular edition. The standard plan gets you full access to the powerful workflow engine of Jira, as well as our template library where you can make projects that are best suited for your teams, Scrum and Kanban boards, Agile reporting capabilities, and really everything you need, especially for teams above 10 people who are looking to establish solid practices in their collaboration and their work delivery. But for those of you looking to get started risk-free, you can do so in the free edition for up to 10 users. The free edition is nice as there are very few differences between free and standard, so it's a great way to check things out while still getting the full experience. And it's free forever. There's no trial period, there's no gotchas. As long as your team is 10 people or less, you can run on Jira free. And once you're ready to grow into that 11th user, you simply add them and your plan rolls over into a standard with no additional hoops to jump through. There are some features in standard that even small teams of less than 10 might enjoy, though, such as more specific project roles and some advanced permissions. And we also have our premium plan, which is designed for teams that are really looking to scale up effectively. Premium comes with advanced roadmaps for higher level views of multiple work streams. It comes with easy to configure automation rules to focus your folks on more complex tasks and remove some of that human error. It comes with unlimited storage for your instance, 24/7 support, 99.9% financially backed uptime, and some other key features that help you up-level your teamwork. And that is what we're going to be looking at today. You'll see a Jira Premium instance, but if you have any questions about the differences between the cloud plans, those product advocates are on the line. All right, so one last topic before we start actually looking at Jira Software. I promise we are close. I know that's why everyone's here, but these are some excellent resources available to help you wield Jira more effectively. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, and all of them are supremely helpful. So we have a host of online documentation that details all the features and functions of Jira. We have technical account managers, or TAMs, to work directly with your teams and build a solid strategy for getting the most out of Jira and your other Atlassian products. And we have a global network of solution partners who tackle the more direct, kind of hands-on keyboard type assistance that most companies fold into your purchase price regardless of if you use them or not. And lastly, we have the Atlassian community. This is a place where Atlassian users help each other out. We also have dedicated Atlassian employees who monitor and respond to questions here, but the majority of the help here offered is by other users that are eager to share their expertise and lend a helping hand. And then not listed, but worth mentioning, we have a large global support team as well, which every paid tier of Jira has access to. All right, so onward to the main event. Let's go ahead and get into Jira Software and see for ourselves some of the things I've been boasting about for the past 10 minutes. All right, so here we are in my instance of Jira. And when you first log in, you're likely to see this landing page. It contains some helpful info like issues that are assigned to you and just some recent activities that you've taken so you can backtrack and find things that you've recently engaged with. You can also click on this Your Work section. And this shows you that a lot of that same information in a different way. Things you've worked on recently, things you've looked at, things that are assigned to you, and then things that you've favorited or starred. But we want to start by actually getting into a project. So I'll just go ahead and click up here on projects, and let's just view all real quick. So here we see all the projects that I have access to. I have access to a lot of these are kind of dummy and test projects, so you might see some questionable spelling of things down here, so pay that no mind. But this is everything that my user currently has access to in this instance. But let's go ahead and create a new project by clicking on Create Project right here. And here we land in our template library. The Jira template library is home to dozens of templates across a variety of different categories, and it's designed to get your team started quickly and successfully. You can browse through these, and you can choose a template from all of the Jira products you own. You see I have Jira Service Management in this instance as well, so we can choose a template for a service team. We also have templates for a team like marketing, human resources, legal, but we are here to learn about Jira Software, of course, so let's go back to our software development templates. Now for software development, Jira Software has 3 templates. We have the Scrum option, Kanban, and bug tracking. Now we are going to work with a Scrum template today, and after we select that, we get this nice overview of all the pertinent details of the template so that you can ensure that it's the right one for your project. Again, the goal of all of this is to ensure that you get started in the right project every time. Now we'll go ahead and select that we want to use this template. Now for the Scrum template, and incidentally also for the Kanban template, you will be prompted to choose a project type. And we have 2 options here. We have team managed and we have company managed. Team managed projects are suited really for independent teams who want to control their own working processes and practices in a self-contained kind of way. Company managed projects are set up and maintained by Jira admins, and this project type is designed for teams who want to standardize a way of working across many teams, such as sharing a workflow across multiple projects. If your team or your organization is seeking to standardize the way that work happens across multiple projects, then these company managed projects are the right solution for you. The fundamental difference between these 2 project types, it really is just how they are administered and whether that occurs at the team level or at the company and the Jira admin level. So let's get started with a team managed project. So to get started, we'll enter a project name. We'll just call this Jira Software Demo Project. We'll choose an access level. Private is nice if you want to restrict who has access, but we recommend that you create your projects in a limited or an open status because that openness of work and that collaboration aspect is really what makes the Atlassian suite so powerful. So we'll go ahead and select limited here. We've got the Scrum template. We can change it here if we need to, and we will go ahead and create this. And here we are. It's put us directly into the board view, but as you can see, there's not really anything here for us yet. So let's go up to backlog real quick, and we can see that there's nothing for us here yet either. So where we want to start is the roadmap. This is where we can build out some plans and some projects and some things to do for the next few months. The roadmap in a next-gen project is a great visualization of your work that helps you, especially at these early stages, plan and scope things out. Roadmaps are also a great way to share higher level information with folks who maybe aren't in the weeds of your project, but nevertheless want a reliable way to understand the status of projects in progress, like executives, for example. They can visit the roadmap here, of course, but you can export it to a PDF, or you can even embed it directly into a Confluence page for those folks to view and stay informed. So I'll just create about 4 epics for us in our roadmap here. And while this might change as we determine what actual work needs to be done in these epics, this is a great way to start to get some achievable goals for your team, kind of ballpark your benchmarks, and start planning. After adding a handful of epics, we can click and we can drag these around. This is purely for display purposes, but it is nice to be able to rearrange these. Now we can change the roadmap view as well from weeks to months to quarters. And now that we have this broader view, we can prioritize and set some target dates. So let's go ahead. Let's say Epic 1 is a very large project. We expect it'll take 2 full quarters to deliver. Epic 2 is something we need to start right away. And Epics 3 or 4 are maybe lower impact or less critical, or maybe they're dependent on Epics 1 or 2 being complete. So we're going to put them further down. So already we're starting to be able to visualize the work that we want to get done over the next several months. And if we click on one of the epics, we get some detailed information about it and several options, including adding child issues, which we'll use to determine the specific work that needs to happen in this epic. So let's go ahead and populate a few initial things here that we'll need to get done. We need to build our project plan. We need to identify an engineer. Now you can also create issues from this view. So we need to identify a designer as well. Let's go ahead and get that added. And back in the detail view, we can see it's there along with the others that we just created. So to make this a little easier on the eyes, we can also change the display color on the roadmap of these epics. Just like how we dragged these around before, this is purely for display purposes, but it does make it a bit easier on the eyes. So let's go ahead and get some colors added to these. Now let's explore that detail view and take a closer look at a few more of those options. So here we have watchers that are represented by this little eyeball. And watchers are the folks who get notified when an issue or an epic changes. Right now it's just me, but if anyone else needs to be informed on changes to this, you can add them here super easily. Next we have this share icon, which lets you quickly share this epic or issue with stakeholders. You can just start typing a name here and it should start populating with results. And there's also this menu, which presents several options. You can move this epic to an entirely different project, you can clone it, you can delete it, a few different export options, and we can configure how this issue functions. So let's take a look at that. When we configure this, we see all the fields that currently exist in this epic. And if we want to add any additional fields to it, we just drag and drop the field type we want over into this main view and add any required details like name. I'm just going to name this something kind of nonsensical so we can easily spot it later, and we'll save our changes. And now when we return to the detail view that we've been looking at, it's there for us. Now to remove it, we're simply going to go back to configure, and we're just going to drag it off to the right this time. Now let's return to the detail view and explore a few more of these options. So we have the assignee of this issue, so this is whomever is responsible for actually getting this done. So let's go ahead and just assign this to me. Now we have labels, which are a great organizational tool. These are free form, and you can type whatever you like for a label, but it will also give you suggestions for pre-existing labels as you type. We can also adjust dates more granularly. This has the same effect as moving the epic around on the roadmap, but just with more precision. So we can see if we enter the dates here, it will adjust the dates on the roadmap and vice versa. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we can toggle between some other views here, namely comments, which is pretty self-explanatory, and history, which shows a detailed view of all the changes that I've logged. Now, back up to the menu here, we can use this icon to add attachments to the issue. We can add more child issues. We've already taken a look at that. And here, we can link issues or epics together. Remember that we mentioned epics 3 and 4 are happening later because they're dependent on an earlier epic being completed. Let's say epic 3 can't happen until epic 1 is complete. So we will say epic 1 blocks epic 3. Actually, that doesn't make sense since Epic 1 is expected to last beyond Epic 3's start date. So let's go ahead and unlink that real quick and establish that link between Epic 2 and Epic 3. So the visualization is so cool, I think, that you just get this crystal clear view of what work needs to be done and how it all relates to each other. So that's how quick and easy it is to set up epics in a team-managed project, everybody. Now, remember our blank board and our backlog that we saw when we first got in here? Let's get back in there and poke around a little bit more. Our board is still blank because we haven't started a sprint yet. So to do that, let's go into our backlog. The backlog should display all of our issues that are not assigned to a sprint currently. And the board, once we build this sprint, will show all of the work that we want to get done in the next 2 weeks. Or a standard sprint anyway is 2 weeks, but we'll see shortly that you can control that as well if your team works in a different way. We can also create new issues directly from the backlog. Similar to roadmaps, there is a plus sign here. Now I'll just go ahead and get an issue created real quick. And because we didn't create it from the roadmap, it's not nested under any epics, but we can do that super easily in 2 different ways. The menu here gives us some familiar options as well as add parent. And you can also do this from the detail view. It's asking us if we want to change it, but if there were no epics set yet, it would ask us to add one. Now to actually start a sprint, we'll just click this Create Sprint button here. And from here, it's really just as simple as dragging issues from your backlog up into the sprint panel. And if you want to bulk add issues, you can use this slider here and drag it over all the issues that you want to add. We'll go ahead and click on Start Sprint, and we'll just leave all the information default here, but you'll see you can choose things like name, and you can change the dates for the beginning and the end of the sprint, and you can also see it defaults to the standard 2 weeks. And we're done. It takes us directly to the board view so that we can go ahead and get started. All of those issues we created for our epic, they are in a to-do status by default. And your board has already parsed those here for you so you can start moving your work along. Now you can rename these columns if you like, and you can also add new columns pretty easily by clicking on this plus sign. So let's say we want to add an approval step here. Just quickly name it QA and hit enter, and we have our new column. We do want our rightmost column to be a done or a finished column, so let's go ahead and drag these columns around too and put QA right after in progress. Now to change an issue's status, it's as simple as dragging it into the proper column and then back again. Let's say if it fails QA, for example. Or you can also do this in the detail view with the status dropdown. Let's take a look at that real quick. Once you populate several issues into this board, it might get a little bit cluttered, but you can filter visible issues using this text field to isolate the ones that you're looking for, and you can clear that filter super easily as well. Now in this group by menu, this lets us break out all this information in various ways. So right now there's no grouping. You can see it's set to none. But if we choose assignee, we'll see all the issues and their assignees. So far I am the only member of this project. So let's go ahead and add Walt quickly, and we will have him identify our engineer. And let's get the rest of these assigned as well. We'll also have Walt source our designer, and I will tackle the project plan along with this new issue that we've created. Now if we choose the group by to Epic, it's again just another way to view this information. We can see all of these issues that are associated with Epic 1, and we currently don't have any issues that are not assigned to epics. If we had issues in this sprint that were associated with other epics, we would see them listed here under Epic 2, Epic 3, and so forth. It's also worth calling out this star icon here, which lets you favorite this board. And doing that puts it on that landing page that we saw when we first got into Jira. If you remember that Your Work page that we looked at earlier, it's just another way to make accessing your work quick and easy. Let's spend a little bit more time in our workflow. We've already seen it in that column view where we added the QA status, but if we go into Manage Workflow right here, we can discover several more ways that we can customize this workflow in our team-managed project. Remember that these team-managed projects are more insular than company-managed projects, so any changes we make here only affects the workflow of this specific project. So here we see our workflow and we see our familiar statuses. We have to do, in progress, we have our new QA status, and we have done. But let's make some changes here. First off, any of these issues can enter into any of these statuses at any time. If we go back to our board, we can see this in action. So you can take an issue directly from to do and place it in done right now. Not always the best practice. So let's build some transitions here. We want to do a few things. We want issues to be able to move from to do to in progress, and from in progress to QA. We also need QA to be able to send the issue back to in progress if it needs additional work, and we need QA to be able to move it to done. And let's also say that we want all issues to be able to transition back to to-do regardless of their current status. And lastly, we want any issue moving to QA to be automatically assigned to Walt. Well, we can do all this right here with the workflow editor. For the transitions, we'll simply hover over to do and click on one of these dots, and then we're going to drag it over to in progress. It's going to ask us to name the transition, so we'll just name this start work. And then next, we'll click a dot on in progress, and we'll drag it over to QA. And we'll name this one send to QA. Now for QA, we'll do this twice. Once to send it back to in progress, and we'll name that one QA failed, and another to transition it to done, which we'll call QA passed. Now, one final tweak before we build our rule for Walt. We want all issues to be able to return to to-do, so we'll click the to-do status and make sure that this box here is checked. Now, regardless of the transitions that we have built, any issue can move into to-do at any time. For the rest of these statuses, though, we do not want any issue to be able to transition into those statuses. So we'll just go through and uncheck the box for in progress. We'll uncheck the box for QA, and then we'll do that one more time for done. And now we have a much more linear workflow that forces issue through a specific set of statuses, which helps us define our processes better and remove some human error that might cause an issue to sit in an improper status. Back on our board now, if we try to move this same issue over to done, it won't let us. We can only move it to in progress. And once it's in progress, similarly, we can only move it to QA. And once it's in QA, we can either move it back to in progress or onward to done. And because we left that box checked for to do, any issue can move back to do from any of these statuses. So next, let's build that rule that assigns any issue going to QA to Walt. Now to do that, we will navigate back to Manage Workflow, and we'll click on the Rule button up here. Now you'll see we have a host of helpful rule templates that you can build from. We have assign the issue, of course, but you can also get more detailed by causing a transition to update a field in a specific way, or maybe place restrictions on who exactly has the authority to move issues into certain statuses, along with several other options. But for our QA rule, we want this option here at the top. Now once we've clicked there, we'll choose which transition this rule will apply to. So we will choose Send to QA, and we'll choose Walt from this menu here. And now let's go back to our board and see this in action. Back on our board, we have to move this new issue over to in progress first because of the workflow that we just built. But then when we move it to QA, we should see the assignee change from me to Walt. You can imagine that there are tons of useful rules that you can build that will automate certain things, removing human error, but maybe even more importantly, saving time on these important but more menial tasks, ensuring that your work flows smoothly without burdening your folks with a lot of these kind of menial details. So we've seen some customizations we can make to our workflow. Now let's see how we can customize our issues to tailor the needs of our team managed project. Now let's start with how we can change our existing issue types, and also let's take a look at how to add a new issue type. So to do this, we will click here into Project Settings, and then visit Issue Types. Issue types in Team Managed Projects are siloed to this project, and changes to your issue types only affect this specific project, just like with our workflow changes. Now here along the left, we'll see the default issue types that came with this project template. We have epic, bug, story, and task. We've actually seen this functionality before when we added a field to our epics. I just wanted to return here briefly, though, as the same process applies to making changes to the rest of the issue types as well. We can add or remove fields from bug, from story, and task just as easily as we did to our epic earlier in the session. We can also change the name. We can change the order the fields appear in the issue, and we can update the description to be more specific if we'd like. Now, while these issues are pretty comprehensive, you can certainly add new ones to a project that will help distinguish work types from one another. So let's say we want to add a new issue type specifically for feature enhancements. This will let us differentiate between a typical task, which might be more focused on new feature development, and an improvement to an existing feature. So to add new issue types, we'll just click right here and add the name of feature development. And you're welcome to add additional context in the description field as well. It will select an unused icon for you, but you can click in here and change it, or you can even upload your own image if you want to put a little extra flair in there. Our new issue type has a few default fields, and here again we can add and remove fields to this as needed. So let's add a people field here and call it informed. So we can add Jira users we want to identify as stakeholders. Now, if you like, you can choose default values for this field, so they're automatically added. And if we change our mind, removing a field is as easy as dragging it back off to the right. So we'll save our changes real quick. And then go back to our backlog. We can create a new issue, and now we have this new issue type as an option for us via this drop down. Now, if we have any existing issues we want to change to this new issue type, we can do that quickly as well. We're just simply click into the detail view and click the icon here. So that just about does it for our team managed project today. Hopefully that highlights how quickly you can assemble a team, plan work, build out work items for your team, and manage it all from start to finish. There's just so much value here, and honestly a lot we didn't get to as well. I'm sure you'll discover more about Jira as you get in and start exploring, like using new fields or labels to help with the organization and using Jira query language for powerful search results and data collection. But remember that team-managed projects are more insular, and changes you make to this project, issue types, fields, etc., they only affect this specific project. Company-managed projects, which we're going to take a look at next, rely more on some underlying framework that lives in Jira, so you can define how multiple projects function without having to make updates to all those individual projects. Company-managed, if you recall from earlier, is more for teams looking to scale and standardize their work across multiple teams or multiple projects. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a company-managed project to play around with. So back to projects up here, and then we'll go to Create Project. And we'll stick with the Scrum template for consistency's sake, and here we'll choose Company Managed this time. So a lot of the core elements of a project, like epics, parent-child issues, backlogs, there are some UI differences, but by and large, those same components define company managed as well as team managed. And we'll definitely take a look at those, but what I'm going to spend some time with here in company managed is showing how it really is geared more for scale and growth and higher level planning outside of a single project. So we're not going to look at any of this just yet, but pay attention to this share settings box. That'll be important later. So first, let's do a quick walkthrough of the UI and see how Classic handles things like epics and sprints and such. So this should look pretty familiar, a blank screen, since we haven't populated anything into this yet, just like in our team managed project. You'll see, just like in a team managed project as well, we have our active sprints, we have our backlog, and we have our roadmap. And just like in team managed, we're going to get started by populating our roadmap with some work we want to get done over the next several months. So we'll start here, and we'll just use the same syntax we used for our team managed project and get these created real quick. Maybe we'll just stick to 3 this time. And we'll also place some dates in here to work from. So Epic 1 will still be one of those larger epics that is going to take maybe 2 full quarters, and Epics 2 and 3 will come after. And we'll use our familiar issues as well. So let me just get those in here for us, find a designer. And you'll notice actually that when I click here to set the issue type, we do not see that feature enhancement option since we created that in a team managed project and those changes exist entirely in that project. But we'll also find an engineer and we will create our project plan. So now that we've got some issues in place, they should be visible in our backlog. So we'll go ahead and create our sprint. So from the backlog, we just go ahead and create sprint here, and then we can drag them all up here like we did before, or use the slider to add these in bulk. Go ahead and click on Start, and then this looks quite similar to the team managed version as well. We'll just stick with the default data here. And here we go. We have our sprint. Now you can click into these sprints or epics and you can make similar edits to what we saw previously. Assignee, link issue, comment, a lot of these UI elements are consistent with team managed projects. And you can drag them in these various columns to visualize them just like you could in Team Managed as well. But what you won't see is the option to create new columns, new issue types, or fields like the way we saw earlier. And that is where the scale and growth comes in that I've been hammering at today. Because in company-managed projects, the makeup of a project, its workflow, its issue types, its fields, are defined in a different way. They're defined by various what we call schemes that determine how the project functions. Schemes are kind of like blueprints, but the real value here is that any size organization, large to small, may need to define project settings that are shared across multiple projects and used by multiple teams. Or when you complete a project and start a new one, you want it to function in exactly the same way without doing all that setup again. So to make these changes to a company-managed project, adjusting the workflow or the issue types it uses, you're not technically changing the project itself, you're changing the scheme or that blueprint that the project draws from. And every project that draws from that scheme will inherit those changes. So let's make a QA status for this project as well and define the process through which an issue has to move a bit more. Now to do that, we start by going into Project Settings and click here on Workflows. Now, as a reminder, the default workflow for this project is the same as it was in our Team Managed project. We have To Do, In Progress, and of course we have Done. So let's take a look at the diagram of this workflow. Currently, just like in our last project, there's not any restrictions to this workflow. Any issue can move into any of these statuses. But we do want the same workflow settings as our Team Managed project, namely, we want issues to be restricted in which status they can move to. And to do that, let's identify the workflow that our project is currently using. Finding that is pretty simple. It's listed right here for us. And once we have the name, we can search for that workflow by clicking on Settings up here, then Issues, then Workflows over here on the left. Just search for our project's workflow, and we're going to copy it real quick. We could start from a blank slate if we like by clicking right here, but working from a copy gives us a framework, and since we're really just making some tweaks as opposed to building a brand new workflow, working from a copy is going to save us some time. Now that we have our copy, we want to do a few things here. Basically set it up the same way we did previously. But first, see this inactive icon up here? That lets us know that no projects are currently using this workflow. Makes sense, it's brand new, we just created it. But we can make edits here and we can make sure that it's to our liking without worrying that it will have any impacts before it's ready. So, just like before, we want to add a new QA status, and we want to ensure that issues go through certain statuses before they can be marked as done. So to add a status, it's as easy as clicking right here. We'll call it QA. And to make it look more intuitive, let's just rearrange these a bit and then drag our new status down here in between In Progress and Done. This is actually purely visual. You can drag these anywhere you like in the diagram, but it does help to make it look tidy. Next, we want to adjust the transitions here. Now, we've seen this functionality before in Team Managed, so I won't belabor it too much here, but we'll uncheck the boxes that allow any issue to transition to these statuses, except for To Do. We do want the option checked for To Do. And next, we'll add our workflow transitions. Now, adding transitions in Company Managed is just as easy as it is in Team Managed. So we want all issues to go from To Do to In Progress. Then we'll build our transition from In Progress to QA, and we'll call that Send to QA. And then we want to create that QA failed status in order to send it back to In Progress. And lastly, we'll create our transition from QA to Done, and we called that QA passed. So now we have our new workflow, but it's not currently assigned to anything. If we go back to the Workflows page, it shows up here at the bottom under Inactive, meaning, again, that it's not currently being used by any projects. So let's assign it to the project's workflow scheme real quick. So first, let's remind ourselves what workflow scheme our project is using. I'll just tab back to our project settings. So there we go, it's right here for us. Now we have the name, and we'll just go back to where we were, click on Workflow Schemes, and find that scheme. Once we've located it, we're going to click Add Workflow, Add Existing, and here is the workflow that we just made, so we'll go ahead and click Next. Now here is where you can get really granular and really detailed if you like, and you can set up different workflows for all your various issue types, for your epics, your stories, your bugs, or any issue type you have in a project can work in a unique way if you like. But for our purposes, we're going to assign this workflow to all unassigned issue types. And this means that unless we specify an issue type to use a different workflow, all issue types using this scheme will use this workflow that we've just created. So we'll go ahead and publish this and then let the wizard do its thing. Just refresh this real quick. And then there you go. Now going back into our project now, we have one more thing to do to get this set up. So let's get back to our project. And in our sprint, you can actually do this from the backlog as well, but we'll visit this menu up here and click on board settings. And here we can add new columns similar to what we saw in team managed. So let's add a column and call it QA. And then let's map this new status to our new column by dragging this unmapped status right over here. And we'll go back to our board and fiddle with those issues and see the outcome of all this. So now we have this workflow functioning just like it was in our team managed project. We can only move issues to certain statuses as defined by the changes that we made, and everything can move back to do at any time. So, that's a little bit more work, right, than it was in team managed. But now that we've done this, any other project we create using this workflow scheme will automatically have this new workflow. And even simpler, when we create a new project, let me just click through here quickly so I can show you. We can choose the option here to share settings with an existing project. And this new project will already have all of those workflow adjustments that we just made. So the concept of schemes is very powerful, and it doesn't stop at workflows. You can use schemes to define the issue types that a project contains, the fields that they contain, how certain screens are configured. All of this can be defined by a scheme, giving you ways to build elements of a project and then quickly apply those elements to a project instead of configuring it from scratch every time you create a new one. Now, the last topic I want us to go over for company-managed projects are advanced roadmaps. This is a specific feature for Jira Premium, mind you, but it gives great visual insight into the health and capacity across multiple projects and teams, or even just for a single team, or really any hierarchy you need to implement, or any combination of data that you want to display. You can do that in advanced roadmaps. Now, we don't have a ton of time left, so I'm going to get right to it. Hopefully we can cover both advanced roadmaps and get to our last topic, covering some of the really interesting ways you can up-level your team's performance through integrations with a few other Atlassian tools. And ideally leave a few minutes at the end for our product advocates to address any lingering questions you've submitted, and give everyone a few minutes before the top of the hour just to let everybody just kind of wrap up here and get on with their day. I know I won't be able to get into as much detail as I'd like, especially with the time left, so there are links in the webinar console that will give you more insight into advanced roadmaps in Jira Premium, as well as more info about the integrations between Jira and Confluence, and Jira and Bitbucket. So please bookmark those links real quick. Those resources are going to be tremendously helpful as you explore your evaluation and test out ways to improve your processes by adding more Atlassian products to your ecosystem. So let's create an advanced roadmap quickly and have a look. Now you can access advanced roadmaps through this Plans menu up here, where you can access recent roadmaps as well as create new ones. So we'll go ahead and create a new one here, and we'll make sure to add the CMD project that we've been working with, as well as a few others, just so we can see a broader view of work across multiple projects. Now you have a few options for the source of your advanced roadmap, but we do recommend using boards typically as your source. And voila, we have a roadmap here that shows a lot more info than the roadmaps from our individual projects. We see issues and epics from all of the project boards we've selected, including the project we were just working with. You can see our familiar epics and issues here, along with a few other just kind of dummy projects I've added for the purposes of this demonstration. Now, the individual project roadmaps are excellent for organizing work for individual teams, but advanced roadmaps are helpful for planning larger scale work items across multiple teams in a single view. So here we can better understand from a higher level what the progress is on all of our efforts across several teams and across several projects. And with this view, you can add dependencies here as well. You can imagine we want to write our project plan before we source our engineer and our designer. So we can indicate that here by clicking on this plus icon and selecting the engineer and designer issues as when we want to begin after the project plan is complete. And now that we've done that, we also see these warnings here letting us know that these issues are set to begin before the project plan issue ends. So we probably want to make some adjustments to those to start later, which we can do here easily enough. Let's actually adjust all of these to align with the epic that they're nested under. And those changes will also show up in the project, of course, but Another great thing about advanced roadmaps is these changes need to be published first before they're reflected in the issues and the epics themselves, which means that we can do some high-level planning here. We can make adjustments, we can even make mistakes and correct them first without impacting anyone's work. Now you can also create issues and epics directly from this view as well, allowing you to make informed decisions and slot in new work, all while seeing how it will impact your existing capacity and plans. Remember how we did some initial planning in our project roadmaps? We can do that here as well, but again, at this higher level, that gives us a lot more insight. And you can make as many of these roadmaps as you like. Maybe you want one that shows all your mobile app releases and another that displays your bugs or your feature improvements. Maybe one for each department, perhaps, and then a bigger one for your entire organization. Whatever level of detail you need, you can build a roadmap that shows you exactly what you need to stay on top of your plans. So this is a brief overview of advanced roadmaps in Jira Premium, but the resources linked in the webinar interface give a lot more details and information about how you can leverage the powerful planning capabilities of advanced roadmaps. So once you've gotten your feet wet with your evaluation and you're ready to explore these advanced features in more detail, please keep those links in mind. Now, let's take a look at some integrations with other Atlassian products that can really make a difference in the way your teams deliver work. Confluence, we'll start with Confluence. In its simplest terms, Confluence is a wonderful documentation and planning tool that can be used for any number of things. But some common uses are keeping records of meeting notes, documenting your team's policies and processes to give everyone a single source of truth, and building those project plans that we've seen in the various epics we've been working with. Now, when Confluence and Jira are connected, you can easily create Confluence pages from within your Jira project, and they will live right here, accessible to anyone working in this project. So we have our project plan built out already, and everyone has access to it. Now, a full 76% of our users who bundle Confluence with Jira Software report faster project delivery. And that really drives home the incredible value of having all your people working in a single ecosystem that is designed with teams in mind and is designed to facilitate collaboration and communication that will reduce friction, remove barriers, and help you get work done more quickly. And you can create Jira issues directly from within Confluence as well. So from your project poster, maybe you've written out several work items that need to be done after finding your designer and your engineer. So once that item is ready to start, you can quickly access the project poster from directly within your Jira project, highlight the work item, and create an issue in Jira in your project with just a click. Now we can go back into our project poster after it loads, scroll down, and we can see the Jira issue that we just created. And if we click on it, it opens right into the issue in the project. You can see we're in the same CMD project that we've been working in. And if we go out to our backlog, we'll see it waiting for us to slot into a sprint. So again, that's a brief overview. There's honestly so much more to Confluence than what I was able to show you in these few minutes, but the benefits of these integrations cannot be overstated. And that is also true of Bitbucket. Now, while I have many skills, dev work is admittedly not among them. So I've asked a colleague to demonstrate some of these integrations for us in a pre-recorded video. So this is a separate instance of Jira, so excuse any UI irregularities, but here she is in the terminal on a Mac. And you can see she's typing the issue key out that she wants to update when she pushes this commit and the status to send it to. So we'll just let this play out for a sec. Let this commit push. Now, if you look in the columns here, you can see the issue is currently in that selected for development column. But when we go back, when we push this and then go back into Jira, we see it moves over into done. And we'll open it up and just take a look at that status change. And the commit is available for us right here as well. So we don't even have to leave Jira to access this information. Now, if we had a little more time, I would dive into a couple more of these integration benefits, but I wanted to show you that one specifically because I think it really drives home just how deeply connected these two products are and how they help keep the information in the hands of people who need it in the environment where they're used to working. So there's not a lot of context switching. They don't have to go to other places to find what they need. And that is, again, far from the only integration benefit between Jira and Bitbucket. And if you connect these two tools, you can view Jira issues from inside Bitbucket. You can edit those issues. You can transition them like we saw. You can relate branches and commits to Jira issues so that data is available for folks. There's a ton of options and a ton of integration benefits to running your Git repository in the same ecosystem that your issue tracker and your workflow engine operates in. As a matter of fact, teams that integrate Jira Software with Bitbucket release versions 14% more often than those who don't. 14% more often, just by connecting your tools together and having them work in an integrated way from a company that builds tools for that express purpose. Now, one final integration topic to cover, and then we will kind of wrap up here and save some time at the end for those product advocates to answer any lingering questions and just let everybody wrap up here before moving along with our day. And that is the Atlassian Marketplace. The Marketplace is one of many really, really great things about Atlassian that makes a real difference in teamwork. Our products are open for development. We have resources and guides for folks who want to extend our products and build on our platform, but also there's a really good chance that whatever that functionality is that you're looking for already exists on our marketplace. Here you can find over 1,000 apps and integrations that allow you to go even further in customizing this ecosystem to suit the specific needs of your various teams. But if it's not there yet, you can build it. And you can even sell it to others on our marketplace and offer your customization to others who would benefit. So as you look to uplevel your Atlassian prowess, look to the marketplace. So we are just about 10 minutes away from the top of the hour now, and I do want to save that time for folks to be able to just get on with the rest of their day and for the product advocates to address any lingering questions in chat. But before we go, just a few reminders of what we have covered here today. Jira Software is a workflow engine and an issue tracker that gives you unprecedented control over how teams do their work. And for autonomous teams, a team-managed project is a great way to get going, and all of the changes that you make in a team-managed project only affects that specific project. But if you're looking to scale and standardize your work, check out company-managed projects, where you can configure them to work in specific ways and share those settings with other projects, reducing the overall time and effort in making those configurations. And with Jira Premium, you get a full suite of helpful features like advanced roadmaps, which we looked at, unlimited automation rules, which I regret we didn't have enough time to dive into because that is actually a really cool feature. You also get financially backed uptime SLA of 99.9%, unlimited storage in your site, 24/7 premium support from Atlassian's in-house support team, and a host of other features that are already live or are coming soon. We also learned that when you integrate your Atlassian products together, you unlock countless ways that you can improve and speed up the work that your teams are doing by keeping everyone aligned on the info that is relevant to them, and do some really interesting things like create Jira issues from Confluence pages and update Jira info directly from Bitbucket. Now, one last call to action, bookmark those links, those resources we have linked for you in the webinar interface. And if you have any questions as you explore your evaluation of Jira, or you want insight into which Atlassian products are right for your needs, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at any time, presales@atlassian.com. We are here to help. So that is going to do it for me today, everyone. Thanks again so much for diving into this with me today. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you'll consider letting Atlassian be a part of your team's success. Making solutions for teams is what we do, and we're always coming up with new innovations to further that effort to enable anyone who works on a team to work better, faster, and happier. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Again, please reach out at any time if there's anything we can do to help, and thanks again.